In praise of antinatalism. Antinatalism is a philosophy that suggests that it's morally wrong to bring new people into the world because life is often filled with suffering and there is no guarantee that an individual will have a good life. While this perspective may seem counterintuitive or even cruel to some, there are several reasons why it's worth considering. First and foremost, antinatalism acknowledges that suffering is an inherent part of the human experience. From the moment we are born, we are subjected to various forms of suffering, whether it's physical pain, emotional turmoil, or physical distress. We may suffer from illnesses, accidents, or the loss of loved ones. We may struggle with feelings of loneliness, inadequacy, or despair. We may confront the existential anxiety that comes with realizing that our time on earth is limited and that will eventually die. Antinatalism recognizes that suffering is not an optional or avoidable part of life, but rather a fundamental aspect of the human condition. By choosing not to have children, we can spare them from the suffering that is an inevitable part of existence. While it is true that children may experience joy and happiness, it is impossible to guarantee that they will have a good life, and it is not fair to expose them to the risk of suffering without their consent. Another reason to consider antinatalism is that it allows us to focus on improving the lives of those who are already alive, rather than bringing more people into the world to suffer. We can work to alleviate the suffering of those who are already here. This could involve supporting charitable causes, volunteering our time, or advocating for social and political changes that promote greater well-being for all. By choosing not to have children, we can redirect our resources and efforts towards making the world a better place for those who are already here. Finally, antinatalism challenges us to rethink our assumptions about the value of life and the importance of having children. Many of us are taught from a young age that having children is natural and desirable, and that it brings joy and fulfillment. While this may be true for some, it's not necessarily true for all. By considering the perspectives of antinatalism, we can question these assumptions and think more critically about what brings us happiness and meaning. It is important to recognize that antinatalism is controversial, and there are many valid arguments against it. Some may argue that children or having children is a fundamental human right and that it is necessary for the continuation of society. Others may point out that life can be full of joy and fulfillment and that it is worth taking the risk of suffering in order to experience these things. Ultimately, the decision about whether or not to have children is a personal one that may be based on what is right for an individual and their family. It is important to carefully consider all the pros and cons and to think about what will bring us the most joy and fulfillment in life. While antinatalism may not be the right choice for everyone, it is a perspective that is worth considering and discussing as we ponder the meaning and value of life.